Upfront on the Voice of America. My name is Jackson Bunganya. In the studio with me is my friend NateAraya, also known as NateAraya, coming all the way from Austin, Texas. Nathan, welcome. Or Nate. Should I? Nate?
Nate works.
Nate.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Nate, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much,
We're
Jackson.
so happy that you were
me.
able to make time, flew in all the way from Austin, come to grace us with your presence here, the Voice of America studios. We're going to talk a little bit about your documentary series, Growing Up in America, the inspiration behind it. You were here last time. I think we've had you twice on the show before,
Yeah.
but on our TV side, I don't know if we've had you on radio before, so it's really nice to have you come in, and then we talk about a very important topic that you cover in one of your first episodes, and that's the issue of mental health. But let's start off by asking you to talk to us about Growing Up in America, the series, the inspiration. What do you cover? How did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jackson. So the documentary series is called Growing Up in America, and it's actually a travel-based documentary series where we go around the United States of America talking to, highlighting cultures and conversations surrounding underrepresented communities in America. So that's refugees, immigrants, first generation, Africans, Black Americans. It's all geared and targeted towards that. And the inspiration for this documentary series is, as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, I've always felt that, I never really felt that I was represented within mainstream media. So I took the opportunity and the responsibility on myself to kind of create the type of projects that I wished I saw growing up. So this project, Growing Up in America, is kind of an extension from the things that I never really had growing up. So the idea is to do a travel-based documentary series around America, highlighting different issues, challenges, and just conversations surrounding our group of people. And the first episode is geared towards mental health. And why I chose mental health for this first episode is because...
Before we get into the first episode, let's let the people know a little bit about your story, yourself. Yeah. As a first-generation American, Ethiopian American, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So I'm a first-generation Ethiopian American. My mom and dad, are immigrants. They came to this country seeking education and opportunity. And then at 10 years old, my dad left, and then I was raised with a single mom. So I'm the oldest of 3 boys. So, I grew up in a household where, we didn't have much, but we had each other. And
you had family.
I had family.
Right.
I had family. And, I was raised, just to kind of, be very, ambitious and to really go the extra mile in everything I do. Again, as a minority, you have to kind of work twice as hard to just get on the same level,
right.
So I just kind of grew up with that type of mindset, and the love and the nurturement from my mom and my brothers. They're fully supportive.
And part of what you're seeking to do with your documentary series, Growing Up in America, is to tell your unique story.
Right.
Let's talk about the episodes, the episode especially the one that deals with mental health. Why did you decide to go that route as one of your first episodes?
Yeah, so personally for me, this year has been a kind of a stressful year. 2018 was great, let me just say that, but it came with its own stresses. And, I handle so many projects, I'm doing so many things as an entrepreneur. So one morning I woke up and I had these chest pains. And I didn't know what it was. It was kind of very foreign to me, never experienced anything like this. So I talked to the doctor and said, you need to come to the hospital. Because I told him it was on this side of the chest, which is where the heart is. So I went into the hospital, got it checked up. They did a full body. And they said, you're perfectly healthy. Everything is great with you. And I said, where are these chest pains coming from? They said, it's an inflammation of the chest muscle, and it's caused by common stress. I was like, interesting. Common stress. I've never dealt with common stress.
So stress manifests itself physically with pain in your chest.
It did.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it did. So, that was a big realization for me, saying that, whoa, I need to slow down. And I asked the doctor what I needed to do in order to help myself. He said, honestly, you just need a rest. And that was a big realization for me, like, wow, mental health care, self-care is so important. We can go off in life and do so many things, but if we're not mentally, physically, emotionally healthy, what good is it? So health, I've been a big advocate for health throughout the year. And then within my own community, my family members, I've noticed that they're dealing with so many different things that are related to mental health care, whether it's anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, especially from the immigrant communities and refugees that are coming into America. They're escaping war and certain issues that are coming from their country.
Right, and come with that trauma.
They come in with that trauma, and they're adjusting and adapting to American culture, and they don't know how to articulate or navigate, what they're dealing with. They just suppress it.
Now, who do you talk to in this episode? Who are some of the people that you talk to in this episode, and what are some of the things they tell you?
Yeah, so I got a group of young, creative, minority, African, immigrant people that are amazing and vibrant and creative. And they came together one night, and we shot it in a barbershop with no budget. And they were just super helpful and they were super supportive with the idea of mental health, and they wanted to address it. So we did this conversation. Now, in this episode, we have Evelyn from the internets, a viral sensation, digital storyteller. She was actually featured on the Beyonce Formation tour. She went crazy on YouTube about that.
I know about her.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
She's
big
amazing.
fan.
She's amazing. Right. And then we have
actually, when I saw your trailer, I was like, I recognized. I was like, I know her.
Yeah. She's great, man. She's so humble.
So you had a lot of help from young people like yourself.
Yeah, just like
the
me.
Community.
Young people.
Do you see the willingness for them to help you as they feel like a certain connection? And also they see the need for those stories to be told. Yeah,
we're all dealing with stuff, Jackson. That's the thing. Like, we're all dealing with stuff. And for me, I want to cut the silos. And there's no reason why people need to struggle in silence. We need to end the silence. So what was interesting, that every character in this film, every person that I asked to come and be a part of it, they're talented, they're skillful, they're successful, but they deal with their own internal issues as well. So this was a form of healing for them, as it was for many that are coming across.
This was an outlet for them.
This is an outlet.
But also, mostly importantly, that we get to see that, and a young person who sees and adores and respects these people, sees successful individuals also going through some type of issues.
Right.
And they kind of relate.
Right, yeah.
So what exactly do they go through? What are some of the things? So what was what the common threads among their struggles? So
what we're seeing within mental health, especially with people within this film, one of the people mentioned in the film that they grew up with the idea of mental health being a wide spectrum. And so, for example, on one end, if you're dealing with schizophrenia or hearing voices, yes, that's acceptable for mental health. But if you're dealing with depression, anxiety, that's unheard of. We're always told just, keep pushing, think positive, you'll be great.
Right. Mostly if you come from an African home.
Or prayer. And there's nothing wrong with prayer, but there are ways you can be able to kind of facilitate healing for yourself, right? So I wanted to understand that, hey, how do we provide people with this information, education, so they can make healthy and well-educated choices for themselves.
And how to heal.
And how to
start the process of healing.
Yeah, and how to start the process of healing.
Did you ever have conversations about mental health in your home growing up?
What? Man, I got physical beatings. I don't know about mental health, man. That's the African household, man. Like we don't know about mental health. No, but what's funny? Like, I was never exposed to it, and that's the reason why I wanted to, create this film and this event series project, because it's important that we're aware of things that we have access to, like therapy, counseling.
There's resources.
That
are right at our fingertips. We don't even know.
They're right there. So that's the first step. Like, we may not be able to fix every problem, but we can face it. And by facing it, meaning that we have to be self-aware about what we're dealing with and admit that we have an issue.
And knowledge is very important.
Acknowledge.
Information is very important.
Right.
Yes.
Through education. Yeah. And then we reach out for help. So there's so many resources available, and I want people to be well educated to figure out what's best for them.
Do you see people growing up in America, first generation Americans like yourself, having unique mental or stress related issues that are just unique to you guys?
Yeah, very. Let's look at this. Immigrants versus first generation experience. The immigrant community. I was just talking to a mother in Denver. I spent some time with a good friend and hung out with her. I was explaining the immigrant experience. They're survivors. They are strong. They plow through life. They work at a company 40 years, and they're for their kids, for their future, for the hope. First generation, we received all of these the opportunities, but we're struggling with what to do with it right now because we're pioneering. We're trying to figure life out. And the first generation, we're not as focused on security as we are on fulfillment. Very different spectrums. Immigrant experience is all about security. They work, they plow through life. They made it. They are their own species. I can't even,
Right. It was about survival.
It was about survival, right? So it's about survival, security. With the first generation experience, it's about fulfillment, inner peace.
Right.
And so you can be
joy,
happiness, meaning of life. That's what is really transformational and healing or fulfilling for this generation.
Right.
So for people like myself, like I'd rather take a risk in life and be able to kind of risk things in order to do something meaningful and fulfilling to me. I can't just operate in a place where I'm just not fulfilled.
Absolutely. So then how do you have conversations, for example, with members of your wider community that are not necessarily first generation, that are part of the immigrant community that are still struggling with some of their traumas? They're still struggling with their mental stress, their stresses of survival.
Yeah.
And maybe give them, because they need this knowledge and this information as much as you do.
Right.
And they also, so how do you start that conversation with them?
You started with this. So at our last event, Dr. Brandon Watis, who's a psychologist in the military, good personal friend of mine, married to my cousin, said something very interesting. He, on a panel discussion that we did. He said, trauma is experienced individually, but healed within community.
That's powerful.
When he said that, I was just blown away. I was like, wow, there's so many silos. There's so many people dealing with these silent struggles. So the first thing that we need to be able to do is admit that we are struggling.
Right.
And part of me as a filmmaker, storyteller, is to be vulnerable and to be authentic and to be able to kind of step out on the ledge and be able to say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm experiencing within my community. And this is how we need to heal. So healing comes and is a process, and it comes in many different ways. So our goal is to be able to open up, share stories so that people don't feel like they're alone, and then be able to understand that, hey, there are resources and things that can be able to help you navigate your mental health. So that's the idea. Break the silo.
So where are you going with this with the episode? What are you hoping to achieve with it?
Yeah, so this started as an episode, and we're gonna get into many different topical episodes. But with this first episode, what I want to do is, and I'm already doing it, I'm doing an event series tour called State of Mind. So what this
in the U.S.
In the U.S.,
right.
In the U.S. So we started in Austin. We partnered with the mayor of Austin, Mayor Steve Adler, who was super helpful in contributing, from the city. So he did amazing just coming and speaking. And then we had local researchers and therapists of color to lead panel discussions. And then we opened up for a town hall discussion. Now, with that, we provide resources. So we gave away a 1-hour free therapy session. We gave away 30 free-minute consultations with licensed therapists and counselors. And then we gave handouts for people so that they understand where they can find help. The cost has always been a big issue, in order to manage that. So we found lower cost therapy sessions that people can find online and on certain websites and organizations. So the goal for this event series is to minimize the barriers that exist between underrepresented communities and healthcare providers and systems.
And the resources that are available to them.
Yeah. That's the goal.
Absolutely. NateAraya, thank you very much for coming in today, man. Such a pleasure to host you again on the show. Great job with the series Growing Up in America. If people want to be able to access it, whether they're here in the U.S. or outside of the U.S., where can they find it? Yeah, so right now you can find the trailer, the panel discussion that we did in Austin, the full panel discussion, and some highlights on my website at NateAraya, that's NateAraya.com/Growing Up in America. We just did a partnership deal with OK Africa, so Growing Up in America will be released on all OK Africa digital platforms very soon. But right now we're focused in on these events that we'll be doing. So our next event will be in LA, top of 2019, so in January. And then we'll come to DC, and we're going to do different cities. We partner with an amazing organization that I don't want to say just now, but there'll be a rollout. There'll be a rollout. The conversations are still in progress.
Yeah. But look out for the event, State of Mind, in your local cities. It'll be out soon, so be out. Make sure to come out, support. It's fun. It's going to be educational. It's going to be informational. And plug your social medias. Where can people find you? I appreciate that. So if you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram at NateAraya, NateAraya. Also on Twitter, I am NateAraya. Facebook, I am NateAraya. Snapchat, NateAraya. YouTube, I am NateAraya. So it's pretty consistent.
Follow my guy. Follow my guy. I can vouch for you, man. Quality fella, man.
Appreciate you, Jackson.
Really
Thanks for
appreciate the work you're doing.
The voice.
All right, that was NateAraya. He joined us here in the studios in Washington, D.C., and we'll catch you next time. If you have any questions, hit me up. Follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, on my social medias at Upfront Africa. Remember to check out our Facebook page, keywords, Upfront, Show VOA. Share with your friends, start the conversation. What you think is the issue of mental health being discussed in your community, and how do you start the conversation? And check out NateAraya, and talk to him. What else do you want to see him covering in his next episode? And we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.